tinfoil hat.
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to.
Rah!
Guys, I love you very much. Joining me as always, Xavier Guerrero and Johnny Woodard, a.k.a. J Nice.
Hey.
Hi, guys. A couple things real quick before we get into it. I know some of you guys are complaining that samtripoli.com didn't get the videos up quicker from last week. I'm sorry about that. I love you all very much. I'm sorry. My web guy was dealing with some stuff and it wasn't able to get up quick enough. I will always put them up as quickly as humanly possible. So I am sorry for that. I owe you guys huge. Fun thing, Chad Zumach emailed my web guy thinking it was me and yelling at him about how I fucked his career up. And so the guy's like, what did I do? I'm the web guy. I'm like, welcome to the world of Chad Zumach. So that's that. Hope you guys are doing well. I got some new dates up on my website. Go to samtripoli.com for all my dates. I am going to be in West Hills. If you're in California and you're near LA, I'll be at West Hills at the Rabbit Hole Bar. Go to therabbitholebar.com, or you can go to samtripoli.com to grab all your tickets there. I'll be there this Wednesday. Just added a lot of shows coming up. July 16th and 17th, I'm in Anchorage, Alaska. Again, go to samtripoli.com. And then on the 20th or the 24th?
24th. It's a 420 show.
A 420 show. We're at the American Comedy Company down in San Diego. Tinfoil Hat Comedy Night. Xavier Guerrero, myself, Eddie. We'll see if we can get this guy to go down to finally do a show.
Do it, Johnny.
Johnny.
I'm muted, sorry. And when is it?
24th. You got some time.
No,
I won't be here for the 24th anyway.
Oh, how that conveniently worked out.
No, I just told you that 30 or 10,
You're
5
gross.
minutes ago.
So, guys, October 16th is going to be the date we are in Vegas for the Big 500.
Nice.
I'm actually thinking doing a 15th and 16th. 2 shows on the 16th, which will be stand-up, the 16th will be a podcast early. Then we'll do Swapcast. But I'm thinking about doing an all stand-up show on that Friday.
And then we're still doing a Swarm Tank, right?
Swarm Tank.
There's going to be part of the...
No. Yeah, okay, there would be, Swarm Tank would be the second show on, so we'll do the 500th episode on Saturday, which will be the October 16th. That'll be like an 8 o'clock show, right? And then we'll do the Swarm Tank after. That is where people can come up and ask questions to us and all that stuff.
You think we're going to get this thing timed right, or we're going to have to do a little TV magic?
We'll call it the 500-ish.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. Yeah, we're going to be on
I may go over, but it will be the 500th episode.
Okay.
It may be out of order, but it will be the 500th episode.
Where it's going to be like the 13th floor and an elevator, where you just skip it and then come back and put
but
it in.
It will be the celebration of 500.
Okay.
Or we might take a week off and just to catch, so it all catches up.
Yeah.
Depending on how
it is going to get hectic. That's not going to be easy if it's a 2-dater. Get everything ready, merch.
We'll see how it goes,
Yeah.
man. I want to do a regular podcast, and then after that, do a Swarm Tank where people can come up and ask questions. And we'll maybe do one big, ticket
Stand-up.
for that.
Yeah.
And do stand up at a different location on that Friday. That's what I'm thinking. Guys, if you want, I know I also had somebody complain that this intro's too long. We're doing 3 episodes a week. All we ask is that you hear all our little things, and then you get 3 episodes of. I think we've been cooking with gas lately. Do we have some weird ones? Yes. I wouldn't have it any other way. I want weird shows.
And you know what's the worst? Can you come to Arizona? Can you come to Houston? Guess what happens? You won't know about the fucking shows if you don't listen to the intro.
We were great point, Xavier Guerrero. Point Xavier.
There we go.
Okay? Point Xavier. I get that all the time. You're fast forward to it. I know the people listening right now going, oh, we're listening. Stop yelling at us. Okay? I get that. All right? But this is just to let you know what we're working on. Some of you guys want more of us. You can find it on rockfin.com. ROKFIN.com. All my premium content is there. Zero, Tinfoil Hat Premium, Conspiracy Social Club, the greatest of all time sports talk. We don't smoke the same. Broken Simulation, Early Look.
Yes,
all there.
If you want to learn about how Sam shit in the shower, you can get that.
Yeah, I'm a dad.
And
That's
for
where I'm
everybody
at.
here, he addresses the John McAfee death. And I know all you motherfuckers be asking me about it. So it's on Rockfin
it's
Broken
on.
Sims. So
Go check it out. So that's
head over there.
That's our stories right there. Go check that out. T-shirts, tinfoilhattshirts.com. I am working. We just dropped. Can you look up Shape-Shifting Jesus?
right there.
He's already
Looking at
got it. It's already there.
I love that shirt.
Me too.
You know, because Jesus shape-shifted into Godzilla.
Can we get a comp around here? You know.
Oh, yeah, I'll get you one, John.
Thank you.
I'll get you one. So go check that out. I got a couple more coming. I have conspiracy smoke shows coming.
Oh.
You know, what's the name of the girl? What's the name of the? I'm gonna work on that. Conspiracy smoke shows, and then I'm working on Abraxas the chicken snake god.
We're still going with
Looking forward to that one.
that baseball one?
What's the baseball? Oh yeah, we're going with that one. When is that
you'll
one
love that
dropping?
Oh,
Did you send it to
should
him?
be, yeah, it should be out soon then. Yeah,
Oh,
I
that
already
one's
sent it to him.
sweet. Yeah, that one's dope.
That one's sweet.
Yeah, go check that one. So all that's there. Great way to support the show. And I love you guys so much. We're trying our hardest, to put out the greatest show ever. I'll diamond hands this show into the ground. I don't care. As long as I got a couple people listening, we're going to do it. We're going to do the interesting shows. We're going to hear from everybody, not just the people that think like us. I want to reach across the whole spectrum of politics. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to Jimmy Dore. I enjoy talking to Jennifer Briney.
Yeah.
I like talking to them. You hear a different perspective. It's fun. That's what this show's about. Everyone's welcome in the Truth Chamber. All are welcome.
By the way, I can't recommend the last Conspiracy Social Club highly enough. When you broke, you were right. Just Callan, you just broke his brain for a little while.
I broke his brain in real. You could watch it
was so funny.
in real time.
He gets tripped. You never hear him trip on his words, and he's like, "Yeah, but what?"
And then he has that moment where he's speechless.
It's so funny,
and it's the
dude.
best thing I've ever seen in my life.
If you could put Simon and Garfunkel over the top of it, like hello, darkness. It was.
We did that.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's
Did you
the
see
perfect-
that on Instagram?
Oh, did somebody do it? No, that's great. I
Oh
can't
yeah,
wait.
we did that.
Okay,
Hello,
okay.
darkness.
It's just
my
the perfect
Did
moment.
that ever happen to you? A look like that? Where you were like, oh, fuck. Because if you watch it, you can tell him he's like, oh, shit.
He's like,
You
and
ever-
it's so interesting. So it's like it's a really great show, and I love
so
Brian
funny,
Callen so much, and it's such a great show, and you guys can check it out if you want to listen to it for free. It's available. The early episodes are on Apple.
It's just called Brian Breaks.
Yeah, it's called Conspiracy Social Club. I have my cash values available, audio for free, video for free. And Punch Drunk is a great show as well if you want to hear sports talk. All the episodes, all my videos that are free can all be found at samtripoli.com. So enjoy that. This is a great show. We have a returning champion, Andreas Xirtus, talking Bohemian Grove and the Illuminati game. And I thought it's a great episode.
Yes.
It's a fast-moving episode, guys. You got 2 hamsters in a wheel. It's a lot of fun.
Take your Adderall before.
No, the guest had enough Adderall. Okay, but that's a great show. Enjoy the show.
Drink from the fountain of
Okay, it's time to welcome back our returning champion. We didn't know he would bring his necrophilia weekend at Bernie's shirt. Okay, this guy's going
Weekend
deep.
Weekend at Bernie, man. Weekend at Bohemian Grove.
Oh
man.
snap! So
This is what you wear at Bohemian Grove. You got to dress like this. I
Oh
don't know if you know
really?
that.
Oh really?
Yeah,
that
they're
does
colorful
make
people.
sense. That does make sense. Let me introduce you before you start going off. Okay, hold on. This is a professional show. There's standards here.
Fair.
Okay. To know him is to love him. He is there. It's supercomputer of conspiracies, and we're very excited to have him on. Please welcome back to the show, returning champion, Andreas Xirtus. How are you, brother?
I'm great. I'm like just outside of Mount Rushmore. I'm like looking to see where they can fit me on the. There's a rock there that's empty. I think I'd do well there.
I'm
Just
surprised
knows.
they haven't added anybody. Have they
know.
tried?
I there was this rumor that Trump was like poking around, seeing if like, hey, can anybody else get on the? I don't know if that's true.
That'd be
There's a
so
timeline.
funny.
There's a timeline where that happened. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't you need slaves to make those?
Whoa! No,
Robots,
not everybody
bro.
out there
Robots
has
these days.
slaves.
No, they
No,
use
I don't
that.
like the
they
word
use
slave
slaves
because
to
it's
make 'em,
derogatory
didn't
against Slavic people.
it's
Unlike
got- it's got-
robot,
it's
which
got
just
Teddy
use
Roosevelt
slaughter
on
It's
it.
got
for
Teddy
slave.
they?
Roosevelt
No, I
on
said
it.
they used slaves to make the mountain, didn't they?
No, to make the mountain. What are you? What are
know.
they? Are they melted buildings?
Thank you for bringing me in so I can lay the rest on that idea. Could be.
I don't know. That's what I heard.
Oh snaps!
Actually, that all ties into like the Illuminati card game as well. So
Okay,
but-
so
but you're
before
trying
we
to
get
talk,
into
so why
it,
don't you
Adderall,
explain
hold
what's
on,
going
Adderall, hold on. Listen to me. What I want you to do is tell us, for those who don't remember your last appearance, tell our listeners, the swarm, a little bit about yourself. For those who don't know you.
Man, that is a load right there. Okay, so I'm from a planet with 36-hour days, and it makes it a lot harder to adjust. But I met Sam, and we did some talks about, what did we start about? It was like Tartaria history, Armenia, et cetera, on like lost history.
Yo,
And
we
just sort of-
started when I did Tim Pool. We did a one of my tinfoil hat premium daily doses, and you broke down Khazarians, and the Rothschilds and all that stuff. So that's where
'Cause there's just a
our
bunch of
romance
stuff
started.
There's a bunch of stuff that people haven't heard more than the hashtag to. And, it's all like a lot more reasonable than it sounds. And so I just kind of I try to just be like the books guy on that side and also be like, hey, it's okay. People like to dress up in cloaks and burn pigs dressed as children. It's a historical thing. Let's just be culturally sensitive to the Illuminati. I think that's what I'm here for.
Nobody ever does that. How long till that becomes something? Like, I drink adrenochrome, respect my culture.
Right. I think True Blood's that, right? And Mark Twain, I think that's what he was up to. So,
Oh,
yeah.
snaps, dropping bombs right out the gate. Tell us about your podcast real quick so they can find you.
Well, you guys know Xirtus. If you look for Xirtus, you'll find it at this point. And I'm on vlogs and YouTube a lot, but there's library and there's iTunes now. And your boy's been helping me out. So we've got everything kind of.
Let me guess, Mark.
Mark's been Alt
Surprise.
Media United. He created Alt Media United, and so now we're part and parcel. It's like relationships, all that conspiracies are. So I think people that are into it, they're just they kind of want to.
Mark is seeing everybody at this point. Mark is seeing everybody, and we're fine with that. That's okay with us. The more, the merrier.
He's a pretty man, but I also just got on some TV.
He's got a pretty mouth, Xirtus. Is that what you're saying?
He's a good listener.
Okay.
That's cute.
All right, guys, I want to tell you about our friends at Helix, man. You know what? Most of your life you spend sleeping. And some of you guys don't even think about your mattress. You just lay down and you deal with it. Okay? Stop it. There's a solution out there, and it's our friends at Helix. That's right. Johnny, do you have a Helix mattress?
I do. Yeah, I love it.
Helix Sleep is the best, man. I got it. I have two of them. And they're both great. I sleep in certain ways. Johnny, what do you sleep? I think you sleep what?
I'm a side
knees by
side-
your head, right?
Yeah,
Is that how you sleep?
I'm a side back sleeper. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you sleep, Xavier?
On my side.
I'm a
Straight
slide
side.
sleeper too. I definitely go fetal position, sideways. That's how I sleep. And of course, my dog gets bam right in the corner. So I have no room. I pay for everything. I have no room. But guess what? I have a giant bed, so I don't care because Helix is taking care of me, man. It is very important. Whether Dude, I used to have a really junk bed, and I just got
Me
the
too.
worst sleep, dude. And thanks to Helix, I sleep on clouds, okay? And how do Helix know what I want? Because they have a wonderful, wonderful quiz. Johnny took it, passed it with A's, okay? I passed it, and I realized what kind of mattress do you have?
Only quiz you ever passed.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. That's true. I like firm and a little soft at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I got too. I got the one that's kind of midway soft. Yeah, you take it's a 2-minute sleep quiz. I mean,
Taking it right
it takes
now.
even less than that.
Look at it. He's taking it right now,
it
dude.
right
and
now,
it was
dude.
simple, easy, fast. And the best part is you don't even have to go to the store with the. Have you heard about these mattress stores and what they're thinking they're fronts for some shady shit? Not Helix,
no.
not Helix Sleep.
And they'll rip you off. That's the shadiest thing of all that they do, maybe. It's just ripping people off left and right.
Yeah, not Helix Sleep. They take care of you because they're honest people. I've met them. They're good people, and I love them. Okay, so if you're looking for a mattress, take a quiz. You order the mattress that you're matched to, and the mattress comes right to your door, shipped for free. You don't even need to go to the mattress store. Fuck the mattress store. You can go online and take care of this with our good friends at Helix Sleep, okay? So this is what you're going to do. Just go to helixsleep.com/tinfoil. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz,
I'm
okay?
done already. I'm done.
He's done. He's in. He's out. He's already got another one coming.
I'm
okay?
buying it right now.
He's buying it right now. It's if Xavier could do it, we can all do it. Okay. This all you do. You go to helixsleep.com/tinfoil and take their 2-minute quiz, and they will match you to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. And guess what? They have a 10-year warranty, and you'll get it. You get to try it out for 100 nights.
On a mattress that you sleep on.
100 nights. Making love on a mattress, and this is how much they care for you. They'll take back your love mattress.
They know you're going to love it, dude.
Every night, hitting it. And then you're like, guess what?
I don't want it.
I want it. Guess what? It's never happened in the history of time, okay? Because you
You're
make better love on a Helix mattress. That's all I know. Better love, okay? Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/tinfoil, okay? Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/tinfoil. Come on, you deserve to sleep well. You're full of energy today. Decaf coffee from now on, or a little, only half the Adderall. Okay, only half. So
This is straight Mormon sober. This is what happens when you drive through Utah on a Sunday. But yeah.
so where do you want to start, buddy?
Well, okay, so I got all prepared because tomorrow is the cremation of care week starts. You know, it's like Burning Man, Bohemian Man for me right now. So I'm excited for what's going on in Bohemian Grove world in California. But we did say that we were going to talk about Steve Jackson. We're going to talk about Robert Anton Wilson. And I think it's so easy to talk about all of these things because they're so well connected. Robert Anton Wilson made the Illuminatis book series. He was the editor for Playboy. And he was like, send in your crazy conspiracy theories. He was also a member of Bohemian Grove. And he was a friend of Hunter S. Thompson, who was also a member of Bohemian Grove. And we start looking into how far Bohemian Grove goes back.
Hold on, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say that every time just for you to hit the brakes. Hold on, let me ask you a question. Hunter S. Thompson, good guy, bad guy, shady dude, into kiddie porn. What was it? What do you think?
I think that was a pretty good sum of it up. I mean, he wrote some really great books. He did try to take over a county and become a sheriff, which, you know, was awesome. He was definitely into drugs, and he was friends with the Hells Angels. I think a lot of nerds like to get in with motorcycle gangs. And
Well, I have no
you know,
problems with any of that. Was he producer of kiddie porn?
There's a lot of talk about Johnny Ghosh being that he was maybe forced to, you know, when you get to a certain level, they have to have some dirt on you. So, you know, he definitely did stuff to be part of the system that he shouldn't have done, for sure.
Okay.
But at the same time, I don't think he was a terrible dude. Like, he was trying to normalize the world, and like, he definitely was the person I think they were using to kind of normalize their behavior, because they don't think that they're that bad either. Like, the people that are,
who are they?
The Bohemian Grove elite, right?
Okay.
They're just former, you know, journalists and artists and gold rush, you know, people, families. So they think that they've established themselves, right? But I think he was kind of on the fence there. Like, he knew that what they were doing was wrong, and he meant that point several times. He got in trouble for it.
I 100% think something's up. I wonder how much is them allowing us to know just so we could talk about it. I mean, there's
Clearly.
so much going on. The Bohemian, we were talking about the John McAfee stuff that went on, and everybody's circulating this tweet in which he's like, I have 37 gigabytes of hidden secret material at 33457 Thomas Street. You're like, why would he put that out? Why would he put that out? And then you start wondering, why is anything put out? Why? What? Like, let's take Dr. Fauci's emails. Like that's all part of the SPARS simulation that they ran. They burn a leader, like they put that out purposely. It's all purposely. Why is 1 second does he say we don't need masks, and the next second he's saying we need masks? Because they want us fighting with each other.
So you would say that they let Alex Jones in? Bohemian Grove in a kind of way, not him knowing, just kind of like, hey, let's let some of this out.
Yeah, I mean, like, how does he even know to get there? Maybe somebody approaches him like, hey, dude, I'm a deep elite guy, and I know something's going on, man. You need to come out here, man. If you come this way, nobody will know you're there. How does Alex Jones not know?
He made it because he was so like, I mean, and you gotta look at Alex for all he is. Like, I love Alex. Like, he's a great human being. It's been really nice to me, but. What's up? Like, he got into the Grove, he filmed this thing, and he made it look like it really to anyone else who was there, it wouldn't have had the context of it being a satanic looking ritual. Because if you just live in California and you go to things like Burning Man, it's not that weird. It's at this point that's been so culturally normalized that you've got a song and dance number around a fire ritual. It just seems like a Disney thing to happen, but he really made it seem like, hey, this is really connected with the Babylonian occult and all this esoteric that people have been trying to, ever since Geraldo, disassociate from pop culture. Because in the 80s, it was really like, daytime television was talking about how there were Satanists in the military and the elite. And it was kind of becoming normalized, but then it's just sort of just dropped off. Nobody seems to look at this stuff anymore. But how is it possible that we look at all the logos for all the Silicon Valley companies, right? Like AOL is the owl, right? And you look at any one of them and you start to say, hey, who are these people that are put together? George Bush Sr. and his son were part of this old boys club. And so when you go to Bohemian Grove, there's different campsites, right? So even though George W. Bush is born in Connecticut, like they go to a camp in Bohemian Grove up the Russian River where they pretend to be Southerners. So that's why he wanted to be governor of Texas and have the Southern accent. It's like fan service for comic books, if you know what these guys are doing at their club. And yeah, I think Alex was definitely given a show because there's no way that they don't know who's in there. Now, I've been twice as a guest, not during cremation of care.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean you were invited? Now we're going to hear the emails. Dude, he's totally a fucking part of it. What do you mean?
San Francisco and Santa Cruz. I know, like, first off, I knew these trans, lesbian, bisexual, gender neutral Flophouse with a pirate radio station.
Is that the name of their dick, Flophouse?
Yeah, it was almost. I wish that they knew it. But
see, what were they again? They were
all of them. All of them.
They were trans.
They were prototypical trans Marxists.
Okay, but list all their characteristics again.
Gender fluid, lesbian, trans, Wiccan, pirate radio station.
Johnny, dick or no dick? After that description, can you say 100%?
You can't say no. You can't.
Nope. You can't do it. Who knows what's dangling down there?
It's
like, let's make
I
a
want
deal.
a whole family nucleus in a man's body. But these were, a lot of them were bartenders at Bohemian Grove.
Oh my God.
So when you start to find out like how really culturally Bohemian Grove works, it's not that weird, and like my family like are, old California. So I have like my great grandfather and grandfather were members, and we have the books from their clubs, because every year they do a play. And every play is different. The Buccaneers or Pompeii or 1001 Nights. I brought Aloha because I thought that would be a fun one to check out because it's all about can I get that on the screen there?
So you're just saying this is a giant theater company.
Well, so what happened was the gold rush. Okay, so there's a lot of weird connections here. But what it was,
how
was
come I'm the only one in the conspiracy community with zero connections to anything? Like, my dad was a teacher, my mom was
Standard Hotel.
Stop, Johnny.
Good one, Johnny. Don't let him forget that one.
Johnny, I have no connections to anything. Johnny, I was a valet in the morning. The only thing I got to see is chicks blown out on coke. Show me their
Johnny,
beehole.
you don't think that's what you'd say?
Oh, of
I'm
course.
just a valet. I'm just a valet guy. Oh, don't worry about me. I'm just a valet guy.
I'm sure he was well paid to say that.
Fight Club Tyler Durden over here acting like he doesn't remember what he does with his
my
face.
own people have turned on me.
Oh, come on. Like, you don't put on a hat to do a convention at a Shriner show every once in a while. I
did. Dude, I had nobody in my family connected to anything. Jesus. I mean, dude, you go anywhere in Hollywood, there's some kind of fucking history of some shadiness going on. Like, donut time is like human trafficking or whatever it is, right? It's like the Comedy Store had mob connect. I mean, like, you can go anywhere long enough. There's some shady shit going down at that place.
That's the thing. Pay more attention. That's all. You know, I mean, like, it's definitely there.
Yeah, but like, your parents were running theater at the fucking Bohemian Grove.
No. Luckily, my dad didn't want to be a Freemason. Like, he literally signed a paper that said, I'm not going to do it. Because his dad was in the D-Malays, like the Boy Scout thing. He's like, how do I quit? I don't want to be around these weirdos. They're trying to run the world. Like, it just seems shady. So, and I definitely don't have certain opportunities I could have had if I wanted to be like, you know, but at the same time, I still see how it happens because Bohemian Grove is the same thing. Like, it's the same as Burning Man. You had in the 1860s a bunch of money, right? The first generation after the 1849 gold rush. You got people from New York, they're coming through. You have these Irish, and so this is where it also gets weird. Is you have newspaper personnel. So Hearst newspaper owns San Francisco Chronicle. San Francisco Chronicle, the team that built that newspaper in the 1860s, 1870s, they had this Marin County get together that was at a park. And then eventually they bought a bunch of land. And every year that became Bohemian Grove, where they put up their statue and where they started to do more and more things. But, you know, it started out as like a men's club, a very important, let's see if we can find Sullivan. They had a librarian who was the niece of Joseph Smith. Okay. So when you start tying together like who some of these founders were, like Daniel O'Connell, who is a, you know, Jesuit trained Catholic Irishman who came to San Francisco and died in Sausalito. When you start looking into the Freemasons, you're like, wait, how does this work that you have Catholics and Protestants? And the reason is because they're out in California. It's right after the Jesuit suppression. The Catholic Church, the Jesuits have been put on the outs, and the Freemasons, a lot of Jesuits have gone through the Freemasons to create their lodges and things, and they've done well. You know, they haven't done well everywhere because they got kicked out of all the places they were doing great. But the Jesuits were still allowed to be in America, right? And especially out west. Nobody cared. And, you know, at this point, California was originally bigger than this. So in the 1850s, they started talking about dividing California. California included Utah, Nevada, most of it, the land the Mormons called Deseret, and it went all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. And they cut it into the shape of an owl. And that was the beginning of, okay, we'll rerun this place.
Oh my God, I just saw it. California is a freaking owl.
Please go buy my California t-shirt. But yeah, exactly. It's designed
Do you
to be
see
that
it?
way on purpose.
I'm looking at it right there. I didn't even see it.
Johnny, you don't think that looks like an owl?
Yeah.
You got to flip it.
You don't got to flip it. You just got to somehow give it some feet.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you guys are looking at it backwards, but that's the owl, yeah. That's
Yeah,
the owl,
that is the owl. Damn,
Yeah.
dude. Damn.
And, you know, and like even think AOL, like owl, when you pronounce it as a kid, you see AOL, owl, you know? And so a lot of the
Oh
symbols
my
of the owl,
God.
well, Silicon Valley, you know, Silicon Valley's, we do what we do. And Bohemian Grove became Burning Man, right? Like if you look up Forbes, Bohemian Grove, Burning Man, there's a great article from like 1999. It calls Burning Man the Bohemian Grove of the next generation. And how, you know, you're wrong, Dad. This is how you sacrifice. You know, we're going to just, instead of sacrificing a very pure animal, we're going to be vegans about it. And we're going to just have 50,000 people sacrifice a bit of their purity in a giant piece of art. And this is the new Wicker Man, right? And it's all the Wicker Man. You've seen the Wicker Man, bees, like this movie where they they sacrifice a Christian so that they can have, atonement. The whole point of Burning Man is atonement, right? It's cremation of care, which is what cremation of care is, the ritual for Bohemian Grove. They say that they have a saint, right? It's Saint John of Nepomuk, who allowed himself to die in Bohemia in exchange for the secrets of the queen to be kept. And so when you start to think about like secret keeping and how a Roman Catholic saint for a Protestant organization, like all of a sudden it starts to make a weird sense, dollars of sense. You got people that have come out of Ireland, they've escaped the famine. These are the elite Irish that escaped. They went straight to San Francisco and they took over the police and they took over the media, and like the news was like cash was king, because some people had no money and other people had billions of whatever you'd call, like hundreds of thousands of, I think it was like $100,000 was like $4 million or something in the 1880s. So all these dudes who had hundreds of thousands of dollars were having like tens of millions of dollars, and they were building, crazy compounds and encampments. And it became like the social hangout in California. Like they have a club in San Francisco, like a building, and then people would, but the thing was the women, like the Sullivan had a wife, the guy who helped start the group, Daniel Cullen, actually, his wife was a girl's finishing school trainer. So the very Epstein moment here, taking teenage girls and marrying them off to these guys who came from the East Coast, were textile or naval officer, Freemasons with lots of money. And that was the beginning of this sort of like build up the elite, beautiful culture of San Francisco.
San Francisco right now is in real problems, man. I mean, it is like we are in a place of reckoning right now in California.
Well, you know that California just became the first, like the deadliest state now? It beat Chicago.
Really?
Chicago's a city. But you mean Illinois?
Yeah, Chicago, Illinois, yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
LA.
Well, because everybody's shipping their crazies here. Like, somebody run for governor and put an end to that. Let's just like track Greyhound buses. Why are you coming here? Why are you coming here? Who are you going to see? You need a destination. Give me your papers, man.
If you don't have a California ID, why are you here?
How is Soviet California still a thing? I think we're becoming more. What are your documents? You have to be very careful with this idea. But yeah, California is literally becoming terrifying. See, at this point in history, these guys were above the law and they would torture people. And so a lot of things didn't happen that way. So that's the other side of it. The ultra elite would just kidnap people, and there's a lot of stories of around Cremation of Care Week, people going missing, right? Not to accuse them of doing like literal human sacrifices based on their effigy of human sacrifices, but like weird stuff happens, and in the 1800s, like who can say,
I'm sure people were sacrificed. I mean, the cops basically have been like, it's just blatant now. It's like cops have always been about protecting the elites, right? I mean, that's really what it is. What kind of cases they take? Pedophiles go to jail. Yeah, poor pedophiles.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
it's like, it's like everybody who gets busted for fucking shady shit in Hollywood outside of like at the highest levels, which is, Weinstein. He seems to be the highest one that actually was into some. But all these other guys, like they get accused of something and you're like, that's not that bad. And then the people who really get accused of like dark shit, like Kevin Spacey, Jeffrey Ross, all these other people, nothing happens to them. Like the real ones never get fucked with.
And even then, if you do get caught for pedophilia, you're better off than getting caught with drugs.
Right.
You'll do more time for getting caught with a kilo of cocaine than touching a little kid, believe it or not.
Like in the power structure, yeah, for sure. It's like that's how you know those guys did it, because nothing happened to them. All right, guys, today's show is brought to you by our good friends at Super Speciosa. That's right. The makers of the finest kratom products in America, aka the super leaf that the feds have tried yet thankfully failed to ban. Okay, just think about it. Why would they want people having the ability to take one product that has so many benefits when big pharmaceutical can profit by hooking you up on multiple expensive prescription drugs? It's fucking nuts, dude. It's just like, it's so obvious what they're doing, and everyone's like, yeah, what can you do? I'll tell you what you can do. Fight back. Go to the Indies, man. Go to nature. Go to the natural leaf, man. Okay? It's great. Have you ever tried Kratom?
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you think of it?
It's shockingly effective. I mean, you think something over the counter like this, you think maybe it doesn't have great
Shady
effect.
shit.
Well, just
thought
that
everybody would know, right?
It wouldn't work, yeah.
Right.
And it absolutely does what it says on the tin. I mean, it's absolutely effective, yeah.
And they're trying to stop it because you know what?
Mood
You can't
benefits.
profit off of natural leaf, okay? They're trying to keep you down, so you got to take their stupid ass drugs when there's a natural leaf out there, okay? So this is what I want you guys to do. So give it a try. Give it a try. Okay, go to getsuperleaf.com/Sam and get 20% off your entire order. And if you're not completely satisfied, no problem. Super
Speciosa.
Okay? Kratom is backed by a money back guarantee. Go to getsuperleaf.com/Sam. Promo code Sam for 20% off, dude. Johnny's tried it. XG's tried it. They know it works. And if you need help, try it, dude. Try it. And just, hey, man, it's got a money back guarantee, dude. How great is that?
Can't beat that.
Can't beat that. So again, go to getsuperleaf.com/Sam, promo code Sam for 20% off. Okay. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases or illnesses. And you know what I say? Fuck the FDA. Who gives a shit? They're bought and sold by big pharmaceuticals. And you know what? Give it a shot. Go to getsuperleaf.com/Sam, promo code Sam, 20% off.
Imagine, this is like you're talking that period of They Will Be Bloods. You live in a time when people get paid less than $1 a week or a month, and you make maybe $1,000 an hour, right? Because this is a level before the economic collapse. How rich these people were, and they take trains when everyone else is walking across the country, or like have even in their own town they're still using horse wagons. So they're very quickly getting in a week or something or less. It takes a beautiful train from New York to California. They kill somebody if they want, and they leave. It's not going to be a big deal because they're there for a week. No one's checking into it, and so a lot of people also that just were kind of nuts. That were I think you think about the foundlings like Coolidge or Hoover or and Taft apparently was kind of weird. Taft was like to hurt people. There's a lot of stories of like pretty tough guys at that period that were involved with the club, but times change. It's not always going to be the same club. That's the thing about Ina Coolbrith. She was introduced to be the librarian of Bohemian Grove, and that's where Bohemian Grove becomes that more like it's known for other things. People go to the people that are in the group and they're paying crazy amounts of money, have access to books written for the club that can't leave the club. So they have their own, and Ina Coolbrith was the niece of Joseph Smith. She'd escaped Joseph Smith's cult after he died, the Brigham Young thing in Deseret. The Mormons were saying, we're going to take the rest of that non-Al part of the state and turn it into Deseret. They created a new language. They were like, Mormon empire we're going to build. And eventually we're going to take California. They wanted, I think it was the Mormons in San Diego. They were working in the Spanish-American War trying to take the rest of California. So there's always been a push to create this Deseret state. Deseret is this kind of fantastical conspiracy idea of the Mormons that there used to be an empire in California, that the gold came from the former empire that was destroyed in some sort of blown up, very Tartarian.
Are we into Tartaria again? Is this a Tartarian story?
Well, it's kind of interesting that it's so similar. Yeah,
it's so interesting. We brought it up to Randall Carlson. I love Randall Carlson so much. I don't want to piss him off, but I would love to have Xirtus and Randall Carlson have a discussion about Tartaria and whether it fits into what he thinks is the whole thing. I mean, when I brought it up, he didn't shoot it down.
Well, I mean, it's hard to do now because when you start to use the excuses we have, it's basically Eurocentricity. It's like, oh no, only Europeans in the 1800s could have done that. There's no way that anyone else could make a brick, let alone a building of them. It's like, it's not a very good argument. And also just the amount of corroboration by really weird people. Like the fact that Joseph Smith and his niece were so into this idea that there was already architecture in the Midwest, and that she left the Mormon church and started working for, of all things, Bohemian Grove. Like, she was in charge of their library. This is a all men's organization, right? So the fact that they got this girl who supposedly knew more than almost anybody, because Joseph Smith supposedly had more information. There's a whole theory that the Jesuits used him to create a church out of Freemasonry, because they knew that the Freemasonry was a great proxy to the Jesuits, but it was just a lodge. It wasn't the church. So the more Jesuit version of Freemasonry is Latter-day Saints. And so she came out and she's just saying, okay, well, look, actually, we're on top of the ruins of Deseret and of Tartaria and these like lost civilizations, and started collecting what is the secret history of California that nobody can get access to unless they're a member of the club. So you're already building an entire different kind of person, because the elite then are believing in this stuff because that's their history and we have no access to it.
Unbelievable. You're a machine of knowledge, bro. A machine of knowledge. I believe all this, man. I think I just gotta be honest with you, man. I don't know what is real and what's not real. And therefore the best thing is not to like try to put any of your eggs in any basket.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, what are the similarities, man? It's just like, you know, there are architectural like buildings that are unexplainable. The question is who did this? Why they do that? What, you know, it's like that seems to be the common theme. I don't why can't it be Tartaria? Why can't it be? Why does it have to be, you know, the acceptable people that did it, meaning the British or the Europeans, or, you know, or the notion that the Egyptians did it. How do we know it was Egyptians? How do we know what part of, you know, the Egyptians is real and how much of it is a made up story? Any of that stuff. Like, how do we know what's real and what's not real? And like, the question is like, we can't put any of our eggs into those baskets. We got to kind of be like, maybe, I don't know, and be like, this is what I think it might be. I don't know if it's 100% that.
And that's why people that are in school or teachers won't go back, because they put all their eggs in that basket. Right. And they're like, we got to live that the Egyptians did it, instead of saying, hey, there's water erosion. That means there could have been an ancient civilization. They won't even look at that. They're like, nope, you're wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
scientific proof that there was water erosion.
Scientific proof.
Yeah, scientific.
That's is that when scientists tickle people? Scientific proof.
That's a real thing. You gotta be careful about it. Okay, well, I wanted to also point out. So when I point out some of these books, and it's just like impossible to get this on the screen.
Yeah,
no.
It's so just terrible. All right, there you go. This is Aloha. This one's Aloha Oi, and so this one's an interesting play because it's about how Hawaii was invented by the Bohemian Grove. And again, these are like Disney level retellings of history. Like they know the truth, they're lying about the truth, and they know you don't know the truth because of the former lies. So there's this real meta level of lie that's incredible.
What is the lie in that?
So they're exactly. So the thing is that scares you is this might be true. I started reading about Mark Twain, also a big Bohemian Grove guy, and you start to see what was going on. And you're like, wait, and also Bohemian Grove playwrights were newspaper journalists. So they were like, so Mark Twain was sent to popularize Hawaii. If you read about why people want to go to Hawaii, people were spending $300 a week in the 1800s to go on a boat to see Hawaii. At that time, the government was putting tens of millions of dollars into renting Hawaii so they could do a trade of mail from China to the United States through Hawaii, because it's a great spot, but didn't have a justified cultural outpost. So according to the Aloha Oi play, they get a bunch of sailors, they get them to move there from different parts of Polynesia. They erect a culture. Captain Cook's first mate is a Croatian guy. So if you look up the song Aloha Oi is from a Croatian song, has the same melody. And if you go to Wikipedia, official story is that Aloha Oi is not a 2,000-year-old Polynesian rhythm. And this was brought by Captain Cook's own pirate ship. And so the entire culture was fabricated to justify turning Hawaii into a state, into a culture, into a territory for us to take it over. And great story. I heard about it a few times, but the fact that the Bohemian Grove has a play about it, and the play is what? This is from 1961, I think it's like 1958. So before the surfing revolution, really like and they created surf culture out of this. Where does surf culture come from? Okay, so you hear about the whole Polynesian surfers, but at this point, you've got redwood guys inventing it. Redwood guys used to float down the logs. These loggers would have these big flumes and aqueducts, and they would stand on the board. You see lumberjacks that would float down these giant logs. So surf culture has always been inextricably tied to California lumberjack culture. And it's where the best surfers come from. It's like Santa Cruz and Sonoma up to the north coast. That always started tipping me off that they're releasing more and more of this information. And who are these guys? And one of those guys is Robert Anton Wilson.
Okay, there's a lot to unpackage here. I mean, we're all over the place. I'm like, now Hawaii's not real?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Like we just found an island and we created a culture of people. Is that what you're saying? So that we had a place to go when we're trying to hop to China.
And this is a play that was presented only to the elite in 1958 in California, Bohemian Grove. So if you were the governor, you had an honorary ticket. You could go see this. If you weren't, you didn't hear about this. And this is since then there have been books on the subject. There's been all kinds of exposés on it. I never gave it much salt because I was like, whatever. But I mean, I thought about it plausibly. But now I mean, when you start looking at these playbooks, you're like, wait a second. Even before anyone else was talking about it, this was already a myth or some sort of a story being made up at Bohemian Grove. What do they know? And like clearly they know the most because they're the people that were going to Hawaii in 1872.
Jesus, it's like everyth's a fuck. Johnny, you went and used the bathroom. You didn't hear. Hawaii's culture's not real.
Fake.
It's all based on lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks, don't knock the lumberjacks.
I remember hearing that royal family of theirs was just a sort of a work.
That they just like place them there and like, you are the royals.
There's been a lot of stories about that too, and the Masons are all about that. The foundlings being raised as royals, What
are the foundlings?
Foundlings are like orphans, right? That have been raised by founders. So in the foundling trains, in this period in history, in the 1800s, you've got people with mumps, measles, or they're dying or whatever. You take 1,000 kids and put them on trains, drive them across the country, and you have signs in different towns say, Thursday, pick up some kids. And then there'll just be a bunch of kids. You pick them up and you bring them to your farm or to your foundry, which was like an orphanage, which it'd be a huge building with 100 kids. And so many of these kids are raised without any memory of what came before them. A lot of times people are like, oh, why don't you know what happened to your family in America? Well, not always a choice. Some people literally were hiding that they're Armenian and they wanted to forget their culture, of course. But a lot of people just literally their parents were taken from them. They were taken from their parents. They were raised to be, new Masonic Americans.
That happened to the Armenians. Children were taken, raised Turkish, and they find out that they're actually Armenian. And what's really interesting is that some guy recently found out that he was in fact Armenian and he killed himself.
What does that card say?
I don't mean to laugh, but I feel like that would be like a good thing, but all right, it's cool. My family name.
Oh my God, what is
not
this?
By Turks.
It's in the fucking cards, dude. And he didn't say it. I was like, come on, is there a Hawaii in there?
Hawaii,
card?
the
There's a Hawaii
traditional
card, yeah.
vacation spot for the world's middle class. Hawaii gives one extra action token each turn to the group that controls it. If that group is corporate.
Well, tell them what you came on here for. It was on there for some reason. I just looked it up.
How did you find that in there?
It's all alphabetical order.
Well, now see if you
epic.
can put
That's
it back
great.
in alphabetical order.
You got to find out what's before H. It's not that hard.
Why do I think he's going to be singing it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
Well, that's important. I feel like we need to talk about Steve Jackson because he made the card game.
Tell
But
us
to
who
get
Steve
there-
Jackson is.
Before we get to Steve Jackson, we need to do Robert Anton Wilson a little bit harder. Okay.
All right.
It's important. So Robert Anton Wilson. So he lived in Santa Cruz, right? And you guys just like Google him, type in quantum physics, Robert Anton Wilson. I was in Live Oak last week. And I was remembering how he refers to Santa Cruz as a quantum physics experiment because you can be in 3 places at once the way the city's divided. But he was the Playboy editor-in-chief who decided, like, let's do a conspiracy theory section for Playboy magazine in the 70s. Right? Like, genius. And people would send in conspiracies. He's like, look, I don't know whether I believe these or not. I'm just going to bound them together and sell a copy of like all the conspiracies I've heard. Things that, you know, like Ford used to be Fjord, like Berenstain, you know, Epstein, you know, kind of a thing, different timelines. And that there's a Atlantis myth and the, you know, like the government's run by these guys. And so, but the thing is, a lot of those theories are completely true. And some of them were crazy, but the fact that some of them were crazy made it really easy to put out the truth, because then you could just say everything was probably crazy. And so he got a lot of people upset, but he ended up doing pretty well. Like, they made a religion out of him, the Church of Subgenius, right? Where Bob Dobbs is, you know, he's Bob.
What? Okay. Okay. There's so much going on here. Is anyone following this? It's like all over the place. So this guy ran Playboy's. He was a editor there, and he said, send me your conspiracies.
To the public, right?
To the public. And he would just get bombarded. At some point, he goes, you know what? I'm going to take most of these and put them into what?
Into the Illuminatis trilogy. 3 books about the Illuminati.
Okay, so he creates this book about the Illuminati.
And all the conspiracies, some of them he believes, but doesn't say which ones. And just all of them. But a lot of them are true, you know? And some of them are, like, at this point, just Freedom of Information Act exposed as a fact. There's other ones where just, you know, the Atlantis story or this and that. But there's just, it's every kind of, it's a great start. If you're interested in conspiracies, read the Illuminati or listen to the Illuminati trilogy. And it began to really like change culture, because culture was like, wait, all of a sudden there's all these ideas. And this is post Kennedy, which is why Playboy was thinking we should do this. So many people were talking like, oh, haven't you heard that the president right now, George Bush, was the president of the CIA, and that Kennedy was assassinated? That who could have had anything to do with that? Well, who assassinates people? Maybe it's possible that the CIA had something to do with the president. And then they were like, what do we do? And the CIA created the term conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
like that's. And so
I'm really. I am so amazed now how many people run from the term conspiracy theorist. It's unbelievable to me. Jimmy Dore is a little like that forever. He called me a fucking conspiracy theorist as he does that pointing thing that he loves to do when he gets really excited.
Like he's a politician.
You know, you called me a conspiracy theorist? I'm like, dude, if you just accept the term, it loses all power. Like tinfoil hat, that's the whole purpose of the name. Is like, what can we take away from you? What term do you really like to yell at people, and just own it and take it away? Truly take the power away from that. That's why. It's
but listen to the difference. If you say like, "Hey, I'm a conspiracy theorist," or I say, "I believe the world's run by relationships," what's the difference exactly? Except that when I say it, it sounds kind of like, you know, Californian, but it's the same thing. I'm saying that the world like isn't just run by one guy. There's a few people that know each other, and that like their interactions with each other affect world politics. Like it's not just whether or not you or I voted. It might be whether or not the water skis got, a sunburn on one of the politicians' back, and like they were at a family barbecue and they got in an argument. Like I believe that stuff actually affects politics. Well, arguments between people. So, or whatever, what deals are being made. And so this isn't really like the same, because when people say conspiracy theory now, I think they're trying to come up with something that's not a conspiracy, because a conspiracy is a relationship. A lot of times they're saying, oh, well, this is really about, aliens that are, trying to harvest our brains or something. I don't know. But like, that's not technically what that word means, Well,
the new popular term is conspiracy realist.
Yeah,
that's like the new popular word. Everyone's like owning that one. They'll own that one.
The real weird believers now don't wear tinfoil; they wear masks. So it's like the whole culture is inverted.
The real conspiracy theorists are the ones still walking around with masks on.
Those are
swimming. I was in the ocean and I saw a woman way out at sea with a mask on.
No way, dude.
I'm not kidding. Santa Cruz. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably dangerous, actually, if it became soaked in water.
Everything about it is dangerous.
You want to know I
So
believe him?
stupid.
There was a viral video of a guy going swimming with the pool in
Yeah.
the pool with the mask on. So they're stupid enough. You just gotta catch one.
You know when Bill Maher is calling you like a dumb motherfucker, which is what he called those
Believe
people.
in stupidity.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you, dude. And
Believe in stupidity. Stupidity exists. Don't deny that stupidity exists.
Well,
but
That's
also
it.
remember. Go ahead. Sorry.
it just all goes back to intelligence versus smarts. Intelligence is understanding a system and working in that system. Smarts is awareness, intuition. Okay, that's what it is. Consciousness.
Well, they're into faith. You know, these science faith is just strong. So I know a lot of great people that are like brilliant PhD chemists and scientists, and I went to see them, and they're like, "Oh, we just got vaccinated. Are you vaccinated? If you're not vaccinated, can you wear a mask?" And then I'm like, "Why? Don't you think the vaccine works?" And they're like, "Oh, I do, but my girlfriend, she's still a little." I'm like, "Wait, so your girlfriend's a conspiracy theorist because she thinks the vaccine doesn't work? She thinks it's a hoax?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
And then eventually they say now in the last couple of days, they're still recommending, CDC still recommends people that have been vaccinated to wear masks because there's, what are they calling it? Spreading.
But what if I already had it and I beat it? How are you different than me? We both have the antibody.
They're saying there's new variants, man. There's
Yeah,
never gonna. It's a new way of life. So that weirdly enough leads into Steve Jackson. So what ended up happening was this age of conspiracies was like, hey, it's okay to believe in weird stuff, and it became so popular that bands like Dio and like 80s was about this kind of weird culture. All before the Freedom of Information Act, because we all knew in the 80s that the Freedom of Information Act was coming. Not we all, but people that were into this stuff.
Were you even around?
I was in the 20 and back program, you know, like definitely.
Were you born in the 80s?
I am technically born in the 80s. I saw Hairspray, Bright Lights. It was.
What does that mean technically?
He's like 89.
What are you, 89?
Yeah, 88.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm straight at the end there.
You have a tippy toe in the 80s, man.
But I did see a lot of cassette tapes. So
no, I get that, dude. By the way, you were born at the end, in my humble opinion, of great art. When art, to me, even though like we were seeing like manipulations, I just feel like that was the last time. See that? I mean, yes,
Are you thinking of music? What are you thinking of?
Yeah, because after that, it's a
Like
gangster rap. Gangster rap was the 90s, right?
Well, I
you
liked
have
early
Pringles
gangster rap,
commercials.
but I'm talking like the 70s were great. That's the golden
To me,
era.
the 80s kind of sucked for music, though. You got like the Who trying to do disco
No,
records.
toward the end.
I
end.
hate to like really be honest, but I'm pretty sure the 90s were the greatest time in
No,
like, Babylonian
late
history.
80s, early
It was
90s.
the 60s. It was
No,
the 60s.
dude, go
The 90s
fuck
had
yourself.
Whatever decade the Beatles recorded in was the
No,
best
dude, the
decade.
The
in
90s was the first time where I could listen
You
to
had
any
the
decade.
Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and the Who. The Who? Really? Ugh. The Rolling Stones?
They're great,
Love
dude.
it.
My favorite song of all time is a Rolling Stone song, okay? But, dude, it does not compare to what was going on in the late 80s, early 90s. Hip-hop came out of nowhere.
I take the 60s
like
more than
rock.
70s.
Early 90s when like what 1% of the population had 90% of the world's resources, where it had 3 video game consoles from competing multimillionaire Yakuza run corporations. Early 90s when the internet made it possible for the age of discovery and Freemasons put all of the data out for free. Early 90s, pretty sure best time.
You and I
But-
look at it definitely during a different prism. But the point
I used
is,
to go into post offices and grab floppy disks from AOL and just get 20 free minutes of internet. Grab hundreds of floppy disks, man. The early 90s were incredible.
Remember,
dude.
there
Like,
used
and
to be
that's-
cassettes strewn. Remember, you just see tape cassettes
Yeah.
on the highway on the side.
Just
Yeah.
cassette tape strewn, man. I used to sleep in a pile of them. It was early 90s was great.
dude, early 90s was the best. And I say it all the time. And even though somebody said something funny about Britney yesterday, I'm going to use it as a joke, but a comment was, Britney is the white people's Nelson Mandela.
Oh my gosh, I feel that. I do. I was just hanging out with Britney's body double, and like, I'll tell you what, like, I feel that story from a whole new angle because it's not just her dad, dude. That they own her identity like Prince. Like, she can't speak in public. She's completely.
She is completely like, dude, you think Taylor Swift, and I'm going to say this, Kevin Hart have any say in what they're doing?
Not legally.
And let me tell you something. You want to get in the clones? Look at Kevin Hart's speedy recovery back. Like, dude, I mean, that guy severed his spine that he's deadlifting 7 months later.
I mean, look at him versus like Tracy Morgan, who took
You see some of
forever
the
to
stuff
come
they're
back.
doing in the Caribbean, France and China. BBC had these articles about cloning and in vitro, and it's interesting because in the 90s they started doing in vitro where they did human clone eggs into women as surrogates, and so they just started admitting that they have these full-grown super soldiers that are genetically modified clones. So pretty much we've been doing like genetics body part replacement, organ replacement for longer than that. But again, all this stuff coming out in the 80s, we're like, when are we going to find out? Well, we all know that if we're into this stuff, in 1991, 94, there's going to be all these FOIA documents coming out. So we'll be able to find out then. But let's just start fantasizing about what the CIA is doing with MK Ultra. And out came, one of these guys who was really like a nerd into like reading the Illuminati trilogy and all that stuff, Steve Jackson. And Steve Jackson was an American game wizard, game designer. So he would do card games, and card games were still.
And this
like
is the guy from Playboy.
No. This is Steve Jackson. So the guy from Playboy was Robert Anton Wilson, who wrote the Illuminati's books.
Okay, all right.
Steve Jackson saw these books, and he's like, we should make a card game about this, about how there's, because when you talk about the Illuminati, and Robert Anton Wilson's like, well, look, I always thought there was like the Illuminati. No, there's the Illuminatis. There's all these people that consider themselves, you know what the new word for Illuminati is? Illuminated, woke, right? So all these people that think they're the woke, and so there's these groups of people that want to take over the world because they think they're better than other people, right? It's kind of like neoliberal white people that want to have social justice war. Like that's the kind of wokeness, is kind of like a secret society that thinks they're better than other people, that are conspiring to change society regardless of what other people think or is right or wrong, right? So you have, according to this idea, and this ended up in Steve's game, you've got the Vatican, you got the aliens, you've got the gnomes of Zurich underground that have all this gold, and they're like teams, and eventually you're like, okay, the multimedia team, I want to take over the world. I'm Disney. I want to take over all of the world, or the Vatican's like, we need to take over the world. So you're competing against other groups, and you can play one Illuminati group versus another. And as you pull cards, each one of these cards is a social psychological operation. And so the psychological operation is a terrorist attack, or it's a environmental activism infomercial, or whatever. And when you pull out the card, it tells you what will happen. Like if you say there's like a school shooting, this is going to take away liberty across the board from all of your citizens because they're going to restrict their rights to self-determination or guns. And it'll also make it easier for you in the future to campaign for taking over control over their state, because they're going to look at you as the person that saved them after you broke their leg, And so the cards give you this rundown of like, oh, an assassination attempt happened.
Okay. So here we're getting into it. I find this so interesting, dude. I love that, because Playboy was a CIA psyop. I mean, like he was
whoa, crazy human trafficking of young Midwestern girls for. Oh, that's just you're just so bold.
Like when we look back, we're like, how did no one not think that this dude who had a house where you could go fucking do whatever you want to it, and that the problem, it was ultimately the downfall of the Playboy parties was like once you were invited, you were always allowed. So like over time, all these guys were like getting old. So you had like 70-year-olds hanging out at these parties. You're like, dude, move on. You're like, no, I'm allowed all the time. But you didn't think there was a honey trap? You didn't think they were setting you up for weird shit?
Clearly, the honey trap of honey traps is
some
the Playboy
Epstein
Mansion.
shit. What? Some Epstein shit. Some little cameras in the holes. No one knows.
Yes.
Epstein didn't come up with this, right? Like in the ancient world, like in Italy, you'd get a prince with two women on either shoulder, and you'd have the whole court hear about it. The idea is to get people that are dirty.
You know how they blackmailed them back then? They would have it like a guy painting in a secret place. He would paint what he saw. He'd be like, show us the evidence.
So if he got the right inches on the cock, they're like, oh, that goes down.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Yeah.
He's got a mole right next to his thigh.
So all that stuff. So, and they, obviously they, Hugh Hefner was owned, controlled. You always heard stories about him where like
Bill
he was
Maher
having sex, like he was getting pegged by the girls watching gay porn. Like that's why they controlled him.
You think he would have got hashtag Me Too? If it would have been back in the day.
No, I don't think gay guys get me too. I really don't.
No, I believe you. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the gay thing is also important. Like a lot of these politicians forever have been gay because it's a really easy way to control people.
100%.
But Hugh Hefner, I think that's a great example of like how can you tell he wasn't super confident about his masculinity? Well, look what he was doing to compensate. Like that's a lot of compensation. So it's worth at least considering the plausibility that he wasn't all he was cracked up to be. But
you know what's so interesting about that?
To the Temple of Apollo.
You know what's so interesting about that is like sometimes I get mad when people are like, "Oh, dude, this guy driving a nice car. How little's his dick?" And I'm like, maybe the guy just has money and wants a nice car. But when you bring up like, Hugh Hefner, and you think about, oh, is he overcompensating for something? And then you take a look at like Dan Bazarian, dude, doing the exact same thing where he's like 5'0" and now he's like broke supposedly. And you're like, that's exactly what he was doing. He was overcompensating for the fact that he was like a fucking power midget and he was super angry. And like now he had this whole thing where like he would just be paying chicks to hang out with him. You're like, okay, yeah, there is something to that.
Yeah, like a real alpha male wouldn't pay.
Well, I mean, like NBA players love strippers and they go to strip bars, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to enjoy a lot of women, but it's just,
he took it to new levels of, I mean, socially, what he was doing was like Anton LaVey. Like he made it socially acceptable for sex work, right? And the beginning of sex work. And the idea also of a man being kind of this, I mean, this is this era of let's shatter the family nucleus. Let's have Magnum PI and Indiana Jones always have a different woman every episode. Let's try really hard to make sure that what comes off as masculinity is really postmodern consumerism and lack of responsibility, which is ironically not what we used to think of men as before that.
I agree with that.
See how that changed men, because now we're not even like Magnum PI. Now we're just full Beyond Burger, and we have no idea what the real masculine.
Well, the problem I have with the only problem I have with that is like men used to sire many children with many women. That it was only till recently that it was like you were meant to have one woman, and this has been like is the women moving forward to lock down what they want in a man, and there's a hold on one second. There's a whole thing that the Me Too movement is this attempt to get men to not be so promiscuous, right? But like when things come out like this, like women sleeping around and men being promiscuous and women selling sex, my whole thing is like, is it moral decay or is it an accepted that this has been going on forever and to not demonize it? Like, do we want everything to be like, do we want every woman we know to be in OnlyFans? Do I hate OnlyFans? I do not hate OnlyFans. I have no problems with women doing that. But do you like, and this is for women too, do you want to make everything a transaction? Right? But my point is like, it's like this kind of correction that needs to happen. We need to also be like, not like pushing people into this really dark underground where it's not safe, but also you also don't want to be like, we don't need this everywhere all time at the same time. Do you understand? Like I learned that with the Naughty Show. I'm like, okay, I had a porn addiction. I used the Naughty Show so I could do dirty comedy because that's my mind. I like dirty comedy. I like to say dirty things. I think they're funny, okay? So I created this thing so I could go up on stage and do my dirty jokes without people going, oh my God, I gotta put on a show so I can walk out and let everyone think I'm angry. Go fuck yourself, right? So, but then I also realized that there's a lot of people cool with porn stars. They just don't want it everywhere at all times. And that is the biggest difference. It's like what we're talking about with this quote unquote trans agenda. Nobody cares if you're trans. We just don't want you dressing up like the fucking most sexual version. I'm saying the F word a lot, guys. I'm sorry. The most sexual version of women to go read to children. You know what I'm saying?
That's actually my main part of it. I feel like maybe like and this is not even, I don't know how to explain this exactly because it's not a problem I have with like I've been, dude, world I've been through.
You've been
no
trans,
idea.
bro.
Like, yeah, I'm so transhuman experience, but
The bartender invited you, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I got almost a job. I saw this kid eating meat plates there, just like keeping the meat tray, keep it coming. Like weird stuff I've seen with the colorful shirts. But what I found was that children need the chance to learn and experience on their own. It's not that I want them to get to go to the Mormon church or to the trans church. I just want them to go outside.
I couldn't agree more.
I feel like if you don't let kids kind of come up with the future, we're imprinting on these kids this stuff. And it's like, I mean, all I know is I've been through a lot. I could only imagine what like a trans librarian's been through. So the kid probably needs a little bit more of their own time to themselves to come up with the things. And probably this is the biggest thing is we shouldn't be reading to children as much as we should be listening to children. And
well, I think it's a little bit of everything. The truth is, and this is a man who's friends with a lot of trans people. I don't care. Live and let live. There's not enough trans children out there to warrant a complete and utter overhaul of our educational system to that we should be introducing anal to children at 5 years old. There's not enough of them. Johnny, we were talking about this the other day. Statistically, the number of gay people is not high enough to warrant a complete and utter change in our educational system.
It's something like 4%, but most people estimate it.
You're worried.
Like
you're worrying about a society today, like less than 4% is today. If we keep at the rate we're going, and this is monarch programming at its finest. If we take kids and we traumatize them young so that they can memorize things that they can only pull up when we want them to, and these kids become, so again, we were talking about Hugh Hefner, and I was trying to bring up Bill Maher. He was when 1997 got the key to the House of Apollo, and there's all this footage of him with all these just about 16 to 18-year-old girls. And you're like, okay, so here's where are they getting these girls? This is how you program them. You build a society that sexualizes everything, makes them feel like every interaction is a transaction, not necessarily, I didn't mean a pun, but then there's a lack of love. It's more of an economic transaction. We're getting to that point where people feel, and a monarch is like based on that butterfly that if you touch its wing, it shatters, right? So they touch as little as possible. So you get like a very fragile future. These kids do not like to have sex like the former generation. I think that if you're talking about some of the best things about the 80s, I think a lot of people had a lot more sex until AIDS became a problem. But like in the 90s on, people started getting weird about sex. And now you've got kids who are, they say they're poly and all this other stuff, but they're having sex, I think it's about 10%. What people used to have sex at.
No, I totally agree. Now that it's so open, it's not as taboo, and it's not as big of a deal. And a lot of this is internet, virtual reality stuff that they're starting to enter as well. But my whole thing is like, live and let live. Be who you want. I do not don't tread on me applies to your religious values, your guns, and your sexual orientation and how you want to dress. You do you. It's like I have a friend of mine who I love with all my heart. This person is a wonderful person, but I posted something about how the court making Britney Spears have an IUD, right, is the same thing as the government making you get a vaccine. And this person went on another post of someone who reposted it and says they did not see the correlation. They think that's a bullshit correlation. And I go, well, because they said even though they are for choice for women when it comes to reproductive, they don't think that should apply to an airborne virus. I go, because that's your point of view. That is your prism. And the rule should be across the board. Government stays out of your body. It's just when you do that, there's going to be things that are covered that you don't agree with. But when you take that stance, it covers everything. And you have to do mental gymnastics where you're like, well, this shouldn't happen, but this should definitely happen. It's like, no, man, across the board, including things you don't like. That's how you do it. And it's just like, it's so interesting. Like the right and the left both do this. Blue Lives Matter versus, cops infringing on people's rights when they want to have a business. And they're trying to shut them down for Corona, right? Or cops coming in to take your guns. Like, If you just make a stance of corrupt cops need to go, asshole cops need to go, you don't have to do mental gymnastics on that. And that's my whole opinion. And why am I yelling? All right, go on.
I had to throw up a Illuminati card. This is the apathy card. Play this card during the attack, except for the Illuminati themselves. No group may use its transferable power during the attack. So apathy is a really important one. I guess I'd also say another one is, let me pull up.
Well, I want to comment on apathy. I know people are like, Sam, shut up, let him go. But I think there's a difference between pulling out your energy, your attention, your money from a system and apathy. Apathy is the worst. To not care is the worst.
You get so much sensationalism that you stop caring. So that's the thing with the game we're talking about. You're saying do what you want to do, but you're saying that to people that watch TV and order stuff off of it, So much of do what you want to do becomes do what you're told is a good idea for you and your lifestyle. And people are being told that by 4 or 5 competing groups, whether it's the Christian right or it's the, whatever. And you got to imagine like they're setting up for a society that will have a certain goal. I think dehumanization is more of the goal than transhumanization. That we pretend that it's like in order to become a woman or a man. Is it really? I think it's more to remove these ideas of man and woman. And so that we have more just the worker, which is like not necessarily the worst thing in some ways. Like it's good to have equality to some level, but I feel bad for like women that want to be women and want to play sports with other women and feel like they will never be good enough because they're playing against somebody who's literally taking steroids of some kind to play. So we're losing the ability to be ourselves. But that, again, I think that gets us into why the Illuminati's card game was so important when it came out, was because all of these people were like, we are going through something. The world is changing. There's all sorts of psyops. That's the word, psyops, psychological operations. So they're saying, in order to be yourself, you need to get a sex change or something like that. It's not necessarily whether or not you feel a way, because feelings are not, like those are irrational. Feelings can be changed, right, with drugs and all kinds of psychology. So the fact that the feeling is saying you need to change yourself rather than the society, that's a psychological operation. And all of these psychological operations are being documented. We started seeing the CIA saying, like, we can do this to people. If somebody was a hypnosis expert, they'll often make a feminine archetype in the traumatized brain of the person. This has been something that they've suggested about some of the assassins for Osama bin Laden, that the ones who've had sex changes, some of the greatest soldiers, that this is literally something that was installed on them. And they've argued like whether or not.
Hold on, what? Life. Who got sex changes?
Like I think it was 2 of the soldiers involved with the Osama bin Laden extradition, where they killed Osama bin Laden. They have had sex changes since then, which is like, these were SEALs, you know what I mean? Like super. And so the story is, they were so manly because they were trying to hide the fact that they were feeling super feminine inside. It's just a little too close to the center of it all, I feel like. I'm for the story. I'm for that narrative. But in this circumstance, it fits in with the idea that like they're not allowed to know what's really going on. They're victims of hypnosis. And, this way they're actually literally creating a new personality. They're like, you're really this other person. This person is a woman, and you just need to go through all this and you'll feel better. So that's like, not to say that everyone's like that, but hypnosis is real. Hypnosis is more real than gender dysphoria could ever be. And it's something that's used on people all the time.
Interesting, dude. So I want to get back to the game. So How is the game actually played? And then we can go through some of the cards.
Cool. So Steve's made a number of these kinds of like, I guess you could call them just regular tabletop board smart card games, where you have a team versus another team and like a chance card and a psychological operation card. You have a pack of cards like that you can use. Each group, each Illuminati that's trying to take over the world, they have certain at their disposal psychological operations they can lay down. And you also have certain things that will happen to you. And you're like, oh, I went through this place. Essentially, there's not like a board that you go around.
There's no board. There's no board.
You could theoretically lay it out in a way like a board, but there's no trail that you're following.
It's not Monopoly. I'm not going around a board like that.
No, it's more like Pokemon. or Magic or something like that. You play, it's like the Magic the Gathering, or it's more like Magic. You put down a card, then there's a response to that card, and if they say, okay, this is 2 points or something, then you put down a 4-point card. So we say like, okay, well, we're doing an environmental activist thing where we're all recycling, and the recycling is taking over the media. And so that way no one can notice what nefarious goals that we're up to. And someone else says, okay, well, I'm putting down school shooting. And so now obviously school shooting is going to trump environmentalism. And so someone's like, okay, well, I don't know. I got to do something. So like, I'm going to put down Christian right fundamentalists arguing on daytime talk shows, because that might actually do enough on the women that are cleaning the house and the socioeconomic backgrounds that we could hit just these kinds of people, that we could take over Canada. Or, and this is literally, the game is that specific. And
how do I know if I won or not?
Well, you run the world, and like everyone else can't run the world because you ended up in charge.
How do I know if I won the world? I don't play Magic. You're a nerd, Johnny.
Well, I played Magic briefly when it was very
Of course
popular.
you did.
But I don't really. I just remember the thing of playing cards. But the thing that I think we're both having questions about, Andreas, is how the scorekeeping as far as like taking over countries and stuff. I don't quite. How is that recorded?
So they all got points on them. They all got points on them.
Each card has points, and there's like Illuminati cards, group cards, and special cards. And so there'd be like the Bavarian Illuminati versus the Discordian Society versus the UFOs versus and then you've got different kinds of world cards which will be like if there's an environmental disaster. And so then you need something that you can play that has more points on a card. And one of your psyops has to have more points, be a more powerful psyop than the one that's being played.
Is it turn-based?
So
it's turn-based.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does turn-based mean? We take turns?
Yeah, it's turn-based instead of real time. So I do my thing. In opposition to you, I say, okay, you do this, I do this. Then the next person says, okay, this happened, so I do this, and I take my turn, and then the next person takes their turn. So it's not
how many cards do we start off with?
You shuffle them off. So I get 30, you get 30, he gets 30, and then from there on, I'm like, okay, what do I got? Oh, I got 9/11. I'm taking down the towers, and they're like, wait up. I'm gonna hit you with the fucking whatever, and then you. So
do we write down how many points everybody has?
Yeah.
I still don't understand. Like, say you gave an example of like taking over Canada. How would that work?
I mean, so as you're expanding, well, that's just it'd be like a better example might be the gnomes of Zurich or something like that. But as you expand, you start to collect more and more. What do you call it? Maneuverability or autonomy. Okay. And you take during an attack, you use a psyop to make an attack, and that attack lets you take control of a part of the world, right? So once you've taken over a group, like you could take over Trekkies, or you could take over a bank system. You could take over the Gnomes of Zurich, could take over a banking system. And each one has certain things they can do. I think
I actually like this. So we just pick like, hey, dude, we're going to fight over Canada right now.
I actually run a virtual Illuminati card game group on Facebook.
Of course you do.
But the Nigerians took it over, and they think it's literally how to get into the Illuminati. So they keep posting pictures of like, how they send thousands of dollars and that they're going to get a white wife in a car.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Hold on. Yeah. So you started this group. These Nigerians have come in, and they think they're actually going to take over the world.
Yeah, I used to want to delete the post, but now I'm like, wait, this is way weirder and creepier. I want my friends to look at these people. They're straight up trying to get people to join their lodge, and they've got like, you'll get a British car, and it's like $100,000 American dollars on a motel room bed. Like you're like, wow, all you have to do is join the Illuminati. So
we should do this.
But the idea is you get groups that like follow you and believe in what you're doing, and then you use those groups to make enough power that you take over a place. And each thing is different. If you're you're a UFO, you don't get to move every move, but then you get to move twice at a time. And if you're the Bermuda Triangle one, some people disappear, and then you take away someone else's move for a turn or something like that. Like they all have special, unique qualities that make them like. You might be like, I want to be the UFOs or some. I like to be the Discordian Society or the Church of Subgenius. Church of Subgenius is mine because that's the Slack church we were talking about, where Bob is the host, and the Jehovah is a radio beam, and Dio and Devo, like Whip It Good, they're members of the Subgenius Church. So Subgeniuses are very important to this whole thing because a lot of former agents ended up in the Church of Subgenius and searching for Slack.
Subgenius?
Yeah, the Church of Subgenius is probably like the big takeaways. Like, there's not just Scientology, there's not just Satanism, there's also the Church of Subgenius. It's a parody religion, but it's pretty accurate. And you should check out, like, on YouTube, there's like a 2-hour video that's like they put out in the 90s. It's like, X day is coming, and their voices are melting and things like, Slack, we must have Slack. You have to slack off is the full goal. It's like the creepiest,
what does slack it
weirdest.
off mean?
Like, slack is not hard work. So the idea is that there's an order of people that are better than other people, and that they're supposed to work less hard. We're the subgeniuses, and we worship Bob Dobbs, who was able to sell snow to Eskimos, you know, and like that, it's like a perfect parody religion. Like it's the reason it exists is because, like, with meta magic, you don't want to remove all symbolism, so you have to continue to have what religion offers people, which is voodoo, you know. And there's another card is voodoo capitalism, because once you get people believing the product will work on the commercial, you have a few weeks to get it running by the time they get there. If 1 million people believe it, then the power of consciousness might actually make your vacuum cleaner actually clean. So voodoo capitalism is a big part of meta magics and, you know, running this world the way that this world's supposed to be run by these people. But you asked the question about how the game is played. What was the part you were missing?
Yeah, I mean, basically, so let's say the three of us are playing, we each get 30 cards, and we go around and we just got to outpoint the other person, and then whoever has the highest points cards at the end wins?
Yeah, so the aim of the game is fulfilled with the Illuminati build a power structure consisting of given number of cards depending on the number of players, or when the Illuminati fulfills its special goal, such as controlling at least one card of each alignments for the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, so, you know, that'd be
what, Johnny?
We need to watch like an instructional video.
Yeah,
we need another nerd dork.
Yeah, we need another.
Well, we just need to see it played. You know what I mean? We need
you
to
know,
see
when
it
your resident nerd dork doesn't know what's going on, we need help.
Well, I was giving you an example for like how Bermuda Triangle would work, but we should just play this game at some point.
Yeah, I think that's the answer. Yeah.
We should just make a day of it. I mean, it's good if you have a full deck. You could play this without a full deck. You could take a deck and you could just have people have some cards that play against each other. I think the original way it was intended to be played was that some people would pick up a expansion pack and have 20 to 100 cards, and then they'd put them down.
Well, what do we have, Sam?
You have the whole
we got the
409.
factory set. Yeah, we got the good one.
We got the good one.
Now,
Dropped a pretty penny on
were
it.
there expansions to what we have? Were there expansion packs, or does this include all?
You don't have, if you have 409, you don't have the German cards, you don't have the Subgenius cards, you don't have the Y2K cards.
We had the 450.
You have the 450. You might have the NWO deck then as well. Which is, you know, so there's the mutual assured distraction, Bavarian fire drill, Illuminati brainwash.
But we have enough to have a solid game, right?
How long would it last? If we were to do it, how long of time does this game last? 3 hours, 2 minutes?
You could play it in 3 hours. It could take longer. But yeah, 3 hours is pretty good, I'd say, to get it going. And the thing
Monopoly,
about the game,
are we going to hate each other after the game's over?
No, you're just going to want to play it over and over again forever. And you'll be like further tied to each other. And you're going to like, it's a better way to think about how the world's being run. Like if you're, you know, some people think in chess, like this is a way to think of news, like how news spins happen. Like this is a really quick way. Like what I'll do, I have my screensaver on my computer with all the cards, like a tarot deck, and it will just put cards up and I'll look at it like it's a stock ticker. And I'll be like, this is really what's happening in real life. Like it's some sort of a magical, like medium work. But with the Illuminati's card games, what you can do with it, especially, is you get enough people together that are playing the game, and each one of you assembles like which is the team that they want to be. Then you can start to figure out how they interact with each other, and you can get an expansion deck. So I have the Subgenius expansion deck to play as Subgenius. You can basically play. Right now, there's a new guy making Honkitopia. Honkitopia is an open source expansion pack that you can literally play without the rest of the cards. So you can actually, if you can't get the full game, get Honkitopia. You can download it for free on archive.org. and it's the whole game without the original cards. You can add them to it, but the new cards are like 4chan cards, and anything that's happened since then. It's a great deck.
Jesus Christ.
It's
Chaos.
deep. This is deep.
We have to play it one time. What are some?
Really quickly, the other thing that really matters about this is that when the game first came out, Steve Jackson was arrested by the CIA, and that they came into his computer office and took apart his computer physically, like took the monitor apart to look for drugs and stuff, took out the hard drives, and because they were like, why does he know all of this stuff? This stuff, he must know something he shouldn't legally know, because this information is like he literally secret stuff. And so eventually he sued the CIA because he'd just been reading that book and put this game together, and he won.
And
so
when did they assassinate him?
He's still alive, and now he works for freaking Disney. So that
can we interview him on the show, dude? Can we interview him on
Steve? You probably could. He might even be down. The thing is, the games he's making now are like Care Bears Monopoly, or I think he might have done
Care Bears Monopoly.
He did a new version of Munchkins for the Disney Marvel movies. He's like doing mainstream normal stuff, but I'm sure he's got a beach house for it.
The question is, why haven't they remade the Gremlins? That's the real question.
Like the film?
Yeah.
Probably because it's probably like you can't hurt real gremlins in movies anymore since the 90s.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
Did you like that movie?
I mean, at the time, I haven't seen it since I wasn't like a child.
And they did, didn't they? They remade it. It's called Clone Wars or Rebels or whatever that new Star Wars Mandalorian is, right? Don't feed Baby Yoda after midnight, I thought was the first line.
Oh, snaps. Johnny, are you offended?
No, why would I be offended?
Because you love that stuff.
You like that show too. What are you
They did a good job. I mean, I'm not
I love Gremlins too, dude. I grew up on that shit.
Yeah, I love Gremlins.
Johnny, did you see how Yoki isn't doing well?
Loki?
Loki, yeah. Loki.
Yeah, I'm sure Yoki's not doing well because that's not a show.
I was worried you meant actually, like, literally Loki after his transition was having a hard time. I was like,
Loki,
I'm not surprised.
Losing viewers.
It's kind of a high concept show. Yeah, it's probably a little too smart for some people.
Well, isn't it like kind of super woke too, where like he's getting cucked by everybody, which isn't his character at all in the movies?
I don't know what that means. He's getting cucked, by the way.
Like dudes are banging his chick while he watches.
You know what a cuck is?
You don't know what cucking is, bro?
I mean, I really don't know what you mean by that, though, in the context of the show.
He's kind of being bitched out.
I think it's more. I mean, I think it's a little bit the other way, because if what I think is happening is true, there's this sort of hierarchy that has 3 lizards at the top of it that are kind of running the universe, and they're evil, but the people who work for them think they're benevolent, and I think that's actually what's going on, and that sounds.
Hey, it's too close to home.
Yeah, it's a little close to reality for some people. Yeah.
Interesting, Johnny. Now I gotta watch it. Wow, fun episode today. I hope people could follow along. You have 2 hamsters in a wheel going at it. Like, who has more ADD, me or Xirtus, man? And we got fucking XG either high or falling asleep over there, like fighting to keep his eyes open. No. And Johnny, I don't even know you're getting your fancy baseball league fucking set.
No, I'm just looking at you right here. I'm looking at a picture of you.
Okay, guys,
I find it fun that we're able to cover. So we just went from 1862 to 2021, covering Bohemian Grove all the way up to card games. I mean, that's
one thing cool. I want to ask. Final thing I want to ask: are there any cards that you think are interesting that's coming up that might be like, whoa, I didn't think of that. Whoa, dude, that might be something.
So basically, every card is like that. So literally, what I'll do is I'll have, I think it's like 2, 4, 5. I'll have 10 cards show up on the screen. Right now, I can see if I set it up like Pulitzer Prize, Computer Security, Bavarian Illuminati, Moral Minority. The power of the moral minority is increased by 1 for every straight group in your power structure. Straight groups are like, mainstream, not wild kids. Straighten up. Play this card at any time, and you can take your kids and make them straighten up. So they've got like punk rock leftists that are becoming the mainstream. Computer Security. This card completely negates any plot card that concerns computers. Currency speculation. I mean, all of these things are happening right now at the same time. Power for its own sake. I would say, like, in general, though, you got to look at all the cards. And even with 450, there's 100 or so more. The German cards too. But the Suicide Squad, punk rockers, and the way that they angle blood, toil, tears, and sweat, Congressional Wives, rewriting history just came up next to big media. I think that's probably my favorite.
Sam, what if they had like an Alex Jones card, Joe Rogan, Tinfoil Hat podcast? In
So
the
that's
new
why
edition,
I
in the
say
new edition,
check out-
they're using us as we're the one.
I
fucking
would be
shit up.
honored.
So that's why I say check out Honkatopia. For free, you can download this game. I have a physical deck of it back at Tim's.
I can't be a part of anything called Honkatopia.
I don't blame you one bit because the
anybody
name's
else
kind
have a
of weird.
problem
And it's
with
like,
that?
there's definitely some stuff in there that's messed up, I'm sure, because it's 4chan. But at the same time, I think you're a card. I know Tim's a card. I made sure that they made me a card.
Oh shit!
You know,
You're a card already, Sam?
I'm a card.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, if you're
That's
Is
good.
it?
I don't know being on.
Is
the
Xavier Guerrero could be a card?
Nope, don't leave me
Well,
out of it.
the thing that we got to find out is what the card says and does. That's what we got to find out.
Yeah. What do you think it's gonna say, Johnny?
Right.
Let's hear your shit.
It like clears. Sam Tripoli clears the room or something, or Sam
Oh,
Sam Tripoli shits in the shower.
John. Yeah, I'm not against that.
New broken
one at all.
episode.
I'm not against it at all. Well, Andreas Xirtus, fun episode. I hope you guys could follow along. It was a lot of talk of what we learned today. Hawaii's not real. The Playboy was a honeypot.
Bohemian Grove and Burning Man are just the same thing, really.
No, that makes sense though. Like it would always be. Like the next generation never wants to do what the generation before. So why not go to Burning Man? And then Burning Man will die off, and then there'll be something else.
That's right. And it better be this should be a Sam Tripoli, like tinfoil hat Shriner party at one of those old Midwest lodges. That's what we'll do.
That'd
with roller
be
skates.
so fun and
Freemasonic
weird.
rollerblade party.
All
Let's
at
do
the
a
same
festival.
time. All at the same time. All right. One more time, Andres Xirtus. Tell them where they can find you.
Please, guys, just start looking for me. If you look, you will find me. Xirtus. I'm on YouTube. I'm on iTunes now with Xirtus.com. Look for Recent Tartarians. In about 6 months, watch me on TV. I don't want to say too much about that, but we're doing a whole other thing. So I'm pretty excited, but you'll find me.
Shit.
Go looking.
You're on the TV nipple, bro.
Careful,
They got
careful.
you, bro.
There's going to be someone in a hospital bed.
They
and
got
people will
you,
turn it
bro.
off. It's gonna
They
be
got
great.
you. All right, man. Great show. Guys, I hope to see you at the Rabbit Hole in West Hills this Wednesday. And please go to samtripoli.com. I got a bunch of new dates up. Holla at your boy. We'll see you soon. Thanks for the support. We love you very much. Goodbye, Swarm.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind. Tinfoil hat.